This is not the case about a small little travel agent getting scammed. It's about the Australian banking system that basically lacks the duty of care. Our confidence in the banking system has been shattered.
Ming Wong runs a Perth-based travel agency and books tours for international visitors so they can enjoy their holiday stress-free.
This restaurant is one of the links in our supply chain.
But the trip he organised in April for 25 Taiwanese tourists that included meals and accommodation was anything but relaxing. After scammers stole $80,000 meant to pay for the holiday.
The stress of knowing that the money was not there and we were unable to pay the suppliers, and we had to basically tell our client the bad news that we have been scammed.
The tour group were just days from arriving when you realised that you wouldn't be able to pay for their accommodation. How did you feel at that time?
Yes, it's very much a shock, and emotions were running high, and I knew that if I had allowed them in without having paid for it, I would be caught with the bill ultimately.
Ming and his client were victims of a scam that's on the rise in Australia. False billing. That's where victims pay fake invoices sent by scammers. Last year, the amount of money Australians lost to scams actually declined, bucking the historical trend. But false billing scams in particular appear to be increasing. The Australian Consumer Watchdog says in one case, a couple lost their $800,000 home settlement to a fake invoice.
So we do see them targeting high-value transactions. So that's things like real estate purchase, solicitor transactions, but increasingly more recently, travel and motor vehicle and other high-value purchases.
When everything was all finalised, I sent them the final itinerary with the menu and all that, and I asked them to make the final payment. 2 days later, as the group was about to come, I looked at it again and I saw that they had sent it to a different bank and a different bank account number. And I thought, hang on a minute, that was when alarm bells started to ring.
Scammers had impersonated both Ming and his client with fake email addresses by changing just a few characters, like this. They continued making holiday arrangements but had no idea they were both actually speaking with the scammer. Eventually, an invoice was sent to Ming's client in Taiwan, prompting them to send $80,000 to the scammer's account at Suncorp Bank. The scammer put Ming's real business name on the invoice even though he doesn't have an account at Suncorp. The Taiwanese client had no idea.
We were all shaking, what's going on? Who am I talking with these 2 months? When you work so hard and then at the end it comes up like that, it's really frustrated, very upset, and I think also very angry with the banking systems in Australia.
Money can actually go into a bank account whereby the account name and the account number absolutely do not match, and the money still goes in.
Suncorp Bank declined 730's interview request, but in a statement said it promptly restricts accounts when notified about fraudulent activity. Unfortunately, in some cases, the money is transferred out before the bank is made aware. That's what happened in Ming's case.
When you look at scammers, it's not an individual, it really is a criminal gang.
Forensic accountant Brett Warfield says falling victim to a scam can begin with something as simple as connecting to public Wi-Fi. Cybercriminals can use unsecured networks to spy on your activity and get a hold of your email and passwords. That's what happened in a recent case he worked on.
We had a business email compromise situation involving the CEO's laptop. It appears that it was compromised at an external Wi-Fi, could be a airport or a cafe or something. Email came from him into the organisation to say, please pay this amount urgently. 2 emails came in over a couple of days and those payments were made.
By the time victims notice something has gone wrong, it's often too late. It's why Australia's banks have created the Scam Safe Accord. It's a commitment to implement new protective measures over the next 18 months to disrupt, detect and respond to scams before the money disappears. That includes making sure account names and account numbers match before any of the dollars are transferred in or out.
And when I do work with organisations, I think a lot of them are still surprised by that when they send money, that the banks aren't checking, cross-checking. So if you look at who's done it, the Dutch have done it. They did it back in 2017. And by implementing that, they had a reduction of 81% of fraud and scams. And then the UK did it in 2020, and they had a 35% reduction the following year in fraud and scams. So it works.
In a statement, the Australian Banking Association said the industry is working on implementing a name cross-checking system, but it requires a significant build and investment. It also said protecting Australians from scammers can only be achieved if every industry does their part, and that the banks and telcos have said they will back the introduction of new mandatory scam codes from the federal government, so the social media platforms should do the same.
We need a system-wide approach to this issue so that there are not weak links that are there for the scammers to exploit.
The banks have told Meng Wong they can't get his money back, so he was left to help cover the cost of the holiday out of his own pocket.
Everybody's feeling very vulnerable. Unless there's a strong mandate and strong penalties, I do not believe that big corporations will behave nicely. I would like to see governments work with large corporations. Otherwise, you will be forever trying to play catch up, and we will never catch up to them.